Hello, my name is Alda Diaz. I am Associate Statistician Officer from the Statistics Division in ECLAC. I will explain to you some basic concepts of environment statistics. We are going to start with the descriptive and inferential statistic, which is the basic of statistics. The noun, the term statistics refers to a numerical data such as averages, median, percentages, and indexes. And all of them characterize an object of study or reference. For example, the number of income in a country, the number of endangered species, and others. As a discipline, a statistic is defined as a discipline which consists of producing, analyzing, processing, interpreting, and presenting a series of data through certain methodological and concepts. The data. A variable is defined as a characteristic of the study elements or objects. Data are the obtained values for each variable. An observation is the set of measurements obtained for a given element or object. There are two types of data, qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative data is a type of denomination and has two ways of categorize the data, a nominal scale and our ordinal scale. And it doesn't allow for executing arithmetic operations. Quantitative data. This requires numerical values indicating quantity. How much, how many, for example, the number of species in danger of extinction, the number of tons of suspended matter found in the air. Statistics is a discipline. In general, deals with quantitative data, which are first qualified by quantitative data. Some example of a statistics publication from our division, we have the Statistical Yearbook, which is annual publication that we do, and we show a lot of data, but for sure graphics and also tables that refers to the information that you will review. And that's an example of quantitative data. Let's go for the descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. The descriptive statistics focus on the characterization of the phenomenon intended to be studied quantitatively. For example, the academic performance of enrolled students in a course. For instance, it can be characterized by calculating the average of students' grades, the median or the standard deviation to know the dispersion of the students' achievements. And the characterization also shows some summary of data that could be easy to understand. For example, graphs, tabulation, as I mentioned before, that you will find in our yearbook. Some example that you will review in the presentations is physical characteristics. In the Latin American and the Caribbean, you are going to find this graphic that shows the mean annual temperature change between 1961 and 2019. As you can see, it has been increasing during the time, but this graphic came by the analysis of a graph from a series of data. Just you to know in case you don't know where the graph come from. Okay, let's go to some limitations that you can find in the descriptive statistics. The coverage. It's a huge limitation because it cannot be covered all of the cases that comprise an objective, the objective of study. I mean, you will not always have all the data that you want. You are going to have only some data, not all of them. So the coverage is one of the limitations. In certain situations, information on the large groups of elements like individuals, companies, households is required, but only a number of them can be accessed. For example, if you have some universe of population that you would like to visit with the census, and some of the households you are not able to get in or to incorporate the information because it has some mistakes, or the person that is inside the house are not going to understand you, or maybe is not able to answer the question, you are not going to have the information. Solutions through these limitations are have a sample of a universe, as I mentioned before, and you can reduce this amount of information and select a number of cases and then study them for sure. Let's go to statistical inference. Statistical inference consists of taking a sample to extrapolate the characteristics of its variable to the set of the cases. For example, we have this sample of cases of study. You can see some people over there in the images, and we have 3 in the left of the image, and then in the right we have a set, right? So the sample is such a little number of the whole set, not all of them. So the inference is a characteristic of a sample that can help us to have some part of a whole. Inferring processes. Well, some particular cases can give us an idea of what is the realistic of the universe. So, for example, if you have a low margin of error, allows that you can have more adjustment to inference of the property of the set of cases. That it depends of the representative of the whole data set that you are available to access. Allows for the measurements of changes through time. In the case of elements, data varies regularly over time. It is feasible to forecast their intertemporal evolution based on the study of its regularity. Historical data is used to infer behavior, thus based on a follow-up of the present and historical information. The future behavior of elements can be predicted. Okay, let's go to the second point of the presentation, which is the variables, data, and qualitative and quantitative measurements. Let's talk about elements, variables, and observations. The elements are the entities from which the data is obtained. Variables is the characteristics of the elements of study, and then observation is a set of measurements for a certain element. Measurement scales. When you collect data, you need to choose different measurements of scales, which is nominal, ordinal, of interval, of and other could be. These measurement scales determines the amount of information contained in the data and indicates the most appropriate way to summarize and statistically analyze them. Let's see if we have an example here. We have an example of how big a person can be. For example, 1.90 meters. That is a measurement, and you understand that this measurement you also can have it with physics elements. For example, temperatures. They have their own unit of measurements. For example, degrees Celsius, and those are different measurements that you can use to explain a variable. Okay, variable just distance, weight, time use, and some ratios. This type requires zero values that shows that doesn't exist at this point. For example, let's see the case of income. Having quintiles allows for establishing a relationship between the income of the lowest quintile and the highest one. A ratio of 1:40, in which the income of the highest quintile represents 40 times to the lowest quintile. And then you can understand the distribution between a huge scale in case you have it. Okay, a summary. Let's have a summary. The different types of scales are characterized by nominal, which is the label that only allows variable identification. Ordinal, that can allows you to have some codes and arrange hierarchies. And interval, which is the fixed number values that support the arithmetic operation. And the ratio is a numerical values that express proportion, requires a 0 point of reference, has, for example, weight, time, temperature. And another example of interval could be, for example, the amount of suspended PM 2.5. With this, I finalized these basic concepts. I hope you have found it interested and have learned some of the things that you haven't. Thank you very much, and please keep joining our course of environment statistics. Thank you.